Welcome back to Mondraker TV. Last year we launched the Neat, which is our supernatural feeling lightweight E-MTB. And a few people said, oh, I'd quite like one of those if it had a little bit more power. Ooh, I'd quite like one of those if it was alloy. Ooh, I'd quite like one of those if it was a little bit more affordable. So we thought, well, that's a good idea, isn't it? So I'll present to you the brand new Mondraker SLY. Look at that thing. So this is the Mondraker SLY. It's a 29-inch wheel, lightweight E-MTB, running 160mm travel on the front end and 150 on the rear. Now I could just go straight into the stats and read them all off, but really, I want to tell you a bit of a story about this because it's one of the most interesting bikes we've ever made from how the bike was conceived in the first place. And I genuinely think that this could be one of the most important bikes we've made. So cast yourself back to the Neat for a minute. So that was also 150, 160. The design brief for that was supposed to be the lightest possible e-bike we could make in that travel and the most natural feeling. Now, we tried all the motors on the market and the TQ stood out above everything in terms of what we wanted for a natural feeling motor system. The thing with a TQ motor though, it relies on a bike to be incredibly light to get the best from it. So that's why the Neat ended up being a carbon chassis on there. But when we were developing that bike, and there was a number of sort of complications to using a new motor system on there, we had to totally reconfigure our suspension design in order to allow for basically a bottle cage or two bottles or a bottle and a range extender in the front triangle. Now to do that, we had to lower the rocker down, and you probably noticed the shock, rather than being in a more traditional vertical position that we've had for a long time on many of our bikes, turned backwards slightly at the bottom. So instead of being driven from that lower linkage, it's actually driven from the back end. The suspension system still works exactly the same. It's still zero suspension, still compressed from both sides, and it still has all the traits that we expect from that system. But by configuring it slightly differently, and along with some sort of kinematic changes on the bike, we increased the leverage slightly, we shortened the shock very slightly, so the bike became more sensitive and supple on the initial travel, which just gives you so much more traction, feels really nice, and also had more support on there. So, you know, it was a win-win situation. And the added benefits, of course, were we could drop the top tube further down because of that design, and it also enables the use of the range extender. But when we were designing it, we just thought, man, this thing is so good. Like, wouldn't it be cool if we could also make like an alloy cousin to this bike? Because no doubt the Neat is incredible. It's a very high-end bike. And we just thought, man, like a lot of people love alloy, but also alloy bikes can be just that little bit cheaper, a bit more affordable. And we thought, there's a good option here. So we started looking at options with the frame design, but the problem is the very thing that makes the Neat such a good bike is running on the TQ system, which needs the lightweight frame. And it would kind of negate the point of having that motor by making the frame in alloy, because we wouldn't be able to achieve the same result that we set out to. So that design was kind of parked for the time being. But at the same time, we were also designing the Dune, and we were getting prototypes made up for that. And of course that had the early samples of the Bosch SX motor system on there. And everyone that tried that motor was completely staggered in what it offered. Now, if you haven't tried this system, something that's very surprising about it is, yes, it's a lower power system than the full fat motors, but it feels so close to what they offer. And it really surprised everyone. And it kind of reignited the thought that maybe we could still make an alloy sibling of the Neat. So the designers basically went straight back to the drawing board, got prototype mules made up of the alloy version of the Neat, but using the SX motor system, and it turned into this incredible bike. And even the design process of that has led us to making a frame that I think is better than anything we've been able to achieve with aluminium construction previously. So when we were doing the prototype mules for the Neats, we experimented in all sorts of different ones that you might have seen on our social media. There's one that's like bonded and bolted together on the front, CNC triangles, all sorts of different stuff. So using all of those sort of technologies and all the different style mules that we'd had designed for us, we ended up working with a different factory to produce this frame, one that we haven't worked with previously. And they've enabled us to build a frame that has a surprising amount of compliance within it. It's more comfortable, I think, than both the Neat and the Dune. It's got a completely different ride to both of them. So it's not just an alloy frame that, yes, it could be more attractive on the wallet to a lot of people. It's actually a frame that has different ride traits as well. This thing is just so cool. So let's have a look at the frame itself and then we'll move around the bike a bit. So the layout and the configuration is exactly the same as the Neat. The back end has our latest generation of the Zero suspension platform with the exact same kinematics as the Neat. So the back end will feel the same as that. It will track the ground the same and it's just as efficient. Now where things differ, of course, are the frame material. So unlike the Neat, which is made from carbon, this is made from 6061 Stealth Evo aluminium. Now this is the latest evolution in the way that we produce our aluminium frames, as I've already explained, from the new factory that we're working with. And it's hydroforming on here, but something particularly cool about it is if you look on the back of some of the tubes here, like I can see on the inside of the rear triangle there, there's material that almost looks like it's been milled away. So yes, this removes weight off the bike, but more importantly, this is what enables us to tune the ride feel of the bike. So yeah, it's nice and stiff, but it has got a good amount of compliance in there. And it's something we've not been able to achieve to date. It feels really quite special. You've got to ride it to see what it's like. So up front, the head tube is slightly different, as you can probably see. You've got a cable entry there, right in through the front, nice and clean. And because it's got the Bosch system on here, you have the Bosch system controller mounted on the top tube. Other differences, of course, are where the range extender will plug in. Geometry wise, it's very similar. We have tweaked it slightly from what we've learnt. So the head angle is 64.5 degrees, the same as the Neat. The seat angle is 77, so just a smidge steeper on here. And the bottom bracket is 3mm higher. Now what we learned in riding the different motor systems out there, compared to the TQ system, the way that you ride this, and you really need to like hammer it round, we're just striking our feet a tiny bit more. So we've just bumped it up 3mm. It doesn't sound much, but it really does make a difference. And the back end on the bike is 455mm. Now, unlike the Neat, we've now moved our sizing. So we now have 5 sizes available rather than the previous 4. So on the Neat, we have the small, medium, large and the extra large available with a 450, a 470, a 495 and a 515mm reach. What we've now done is we've made the small smaller, the extra large larger, and we've included a medium large size in the middle. So the small on the SLY is now down to 440, then it jumps up to 460, 480, 500 and 520. Now I would always run a size extra large and I probably still will, but this one's actually a size large. And the cool thing about this is it fits me great and it just feels perhaps a bit more agile than it would do if I was riding the extra large. So it does give you a little bit more freedom of choice there. That combined with what we've done with our seat post offerings on the bikes means hopefully these are going to fit a lot more people a lot better. And powering the bike, of course, is the Bosch Performance SX lightweight motor system. So the exact same setup that we have on the Dune. So tucked in a down tube, we have a 400 watt-hour battery. You can also add on the PowerMore range extender, which gives you an extra 60% or 250 watt-hour there. It's not included with the bike, it's an optional extra. And it has a 55 Newton meter power motor down the bottom there. So despite the fact it kicks out 55 Newton meters of torque, it will actually still offer you 600 watts of peak power, which is the same that you get on the Bosch full power CX motor system. Now, it's quite interesting how Bosch have basically managed to do this. So they shrunk the motor and they've made it lighter. And in order to do that, they've gone down to a 2-step gearing system on the inside, whereas the bigger motor has a 3-step system. This means they've had to lower the torque on there to basically make it work, but an additional benefit of that is it has less friction to overcome. Now the cool thing about this is it really relies heavily on cadence to unlock that full power. So yes, The bigger system has that 600 watts of power, and you can get that thanks to the torque in the system at about 70 RPM. This system, you need to be spinning over 90 RPM to get that same 600 watts. But the cool thing about it is how natural it feels. So picture yourself going up a climb, and you've got to get up like a rock step or over a log or something. You will naturally just increase the way you pedal just as you get to it. And that's when it gives you that big surge that you need. So it adds up to a bike that ends up feeling a lot more natural than it should do, despite the power that actually kicks out. Now, the system itself hasn't changed from what we have on the Dune. Okay, so there are two different models available in the SLY. There is the R and this one, the RR. Now, both of these bikes have slightly different components on, but they both have wireless AXS transmissions on the bikes, and everything is hand-picked on here to be the best it can possibly be. So these bikes are not designed to be anything other than high-performance ones. So let's get to the cockpit up the front here, and you can see our brand new revised on-off components. Now, you might have seen some of the on-off stuff on the Mondraker factory racing team bikes. Of course, Dakota's got that crazy prototype bar, but these very much are production ones and are designed exclusively in-house for us, by us. So there's three models in the range. There's the S3, S6 and S9. And they all offer slightly different traits for different levels of bikes and different styles. This one has the S6 alloy bar on here. It's a full 800mm, and you get that on all the bikes. Now, the large and the extra large benefit from having a 38mm rise bar, whereas the rest have a 25mm bar. So it's been really well considered to make sure they suit the most amount of people. Of course, if they're too wide, you can just trim those down. Now, it also has the new on-off stem on here. Again, this is the S6, so it's a forged stem, and it's got CNC machined faces on it. So it just looks, it's a really high-end stem. It looks really nice. There was nothing wrong with the last one, but this one is so much cleaner looking. Lovely looking stem, that. The handlebar grips too are revised. They're made from a much softer rubber compound now, so extremely comfortable. As you can see on here, we've got code brakes, 200mm rotors front and rear, and you've got a Fox 36 on the front here. This one is a performance level with the grip damper on here. Absolutely fantastic fork, super active, super well controlled, running 160mm of travel. When it comes to rolling stock on the RR model, we have the Mavic E-D-Max SL wheels with the 30mm rims and the ID 360 system in the rear hub. Really cool ratchet ring style system there. Like I said, the 30mm rims on there, and we're running big 2.5-inch wide trail Maxxis tyres front and rear. Now on the front, we're using a Max Grip compound here in the DHF. It's an EXO Plus casing, so it's the latest version of that casing. It uses the 60 TPI on there, so it's quite a lot tougher than what they used to have. Out back, DHR2, but in the Max Terra compound, so a bit quicker, a bit more efficient on the back, a bit more fun up on the front there. Let's move to the back of the bike and let's just have a look at the transmission on here and some of the finishing kit. Okay, so the transmission, as you can probably see from there, is SRAM Eagle Access. It's the GX version of the T-Type system, which is phenomenal. It works so well, and I do love just the extra security of the inboard battery there. Stops your mates nicking it as well. Cranks on all of the bikes, E13, and they're all 160mm. Now, we've just universally found that to be the best size to suit the bikes, the way that you ride them, enabling you to just keep pedaling the whole time. Now, finishing kit on the bike, you've probably noticed we've got nice soft rubber molded chainstay protectors here. They're really quiet in action, and there's also a two-piece fender here for the rear shock, just to divert anything that could get stuck in there. All models of the bike feature the latest version of the on-off dropper post, which has not only different drops for each size bike, so it's 140, 160, 180 and 210 available across the sizes, but each one of those is adjustable by 25mm as well, tool free. Really cool design, and they have a brand new lever on them. Super great post, really easy to service, really easy to adjust to what you want. And then of course there's the target weight of the bikes and the prices, which I'm sure you're going to want to know. So the target weight was to make the bikes under 21 kilos, and we've delivered. So the R model is 21 kilos and this one is 20.5. That's with no pedals, and that is when set up tubeless. So bear in mind, when you buy the bikes, they will come with heavy duty inner tubes, which I think are about 270 grams per tyre. This is both to make them functional and to get you out on the trails, but also because of logistics when shipping with sealant and stuff in the tyres, bikes being on the shelf, that sort of thing. So everything is tubeless compatible, super easy to sort out on the bikes there. Last thing I guess people want to know is the pricing. So pricing is going to be popping up on screen, but in euros, the R model is 6,000 euros, and this RR model, the top of the range one, is 7,000 euros. As I said to you, these are not supposed to be cheap bikes. These are top of the range, high performance bikes, but hopefully more attractive to more riders. I truly think that the combination here, the 29-inch wheels, the 160, 150, the alloy frame with the slightly different ride attributes, combined with that Bosch SX system is, I think this is the most versatile mountain bike we've made. I absolutely love it. I think it's great, and I would love to know what you think of it. Please let us know in the comments down there. And if you don't already subscribe to Mondraker TV, please do, and tell everyone about us. I'll see you in another video soon. Ta-ra.